All right, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good evening. It's great to be
Hi.
back.
Yes, it's been a little while. It's been a minute, but we're glad to have you all
It is,
back.
yeah,
And
because I was traveling and Lisa was also in the US, but now we will be again more regular. Uh, we have a fantastic team. If you can put in the chat that you can hear us and see us, we are on Facebook. Nika is here from Finland. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, obviously. Right. So, yeah, I will check if the LinkedIn is working because we
great.
had
And then
some. I need to tell you, some of you maybe if you are Czech origin, you were on the Sunday live, and I had some issues, and it's an issue with the camera. I thought it's an issue with internet, but it's an issue with camera. So I'm using different camera today, so it should be okay. So let's see. Okay, yeah, we are on LinkedIn. It's fine, and I will check Facebook if it works.
perfect. And
Yeah,
as you do that, we have a comment. Good evening from Finland before another sleepless night. And I don't know if
you
there's
know
more to
what?
that
Because
story.
he's a new father. He's a new father.
Oh,
I will
congratulations.
what I will do now because I'm using different camera, and so I will put my table a little bit down so that there'll be some technical change a little bit. Don't worry. It
Pay
will
no
be.
attention to the man behind
No,
the
no, no,
curtain,
don't worry.
Nick.
Nothing bad is happening with Jan. Okay.
Did
Now
Jan fall over?
we are back because the other camera is a little bit higher, and now it's like you can see Jan and
Yes,
Lisa on the same
on the same thing. And you know what? I mean, this is a perfect example of interdependence, which is our theme
Oh,
for
so
tonight.
yeah, absolutely.
Because when I joined, I said, "Hey, what's going on with the camera?" And he said, "Oh, can I check it now?" And you can't always do that alone. You need someone to give you the feedback. So
Absolutely, because on my side it
it's
was
perfect.
absolutely okay. All right, guys, we have an interesting team today, which we talk a little bit in the past, and that's kind of leaders' ability to ask for the help, to delegate, and all of that. Lisa, very nicely call it the things leaders secretly struggle with. Why it feels so hard to do it alone, right? And it's so Lisa, if you wanted to kick it off, because I gave it to some thoughts, and I will give you like my view why I think it's evolution, why we are doing what we are doing in terms of
Ooh. So if you're going to take evolution side, then I'll take cultural side because I'm American and Americans are known for
excellent,
being that strong,
excellent,
independent
excellent,
type, right?
excellent.
And so from my perspective, as I was growing up, for example, my parents always said, if you want something done right, do it yourself.
Oh yeah,
These were the kinds of mottos that I was brought up with. And this is an important topic to talk about because many people don't understand in the Western cultures. This is different in the Eastern
oh
cultures.
big time, big time.
And this is why I take the cultural route since you're going to take the evolutionary route. In the Western cultures, we cultivate, we say, we strengthen, we prize independence. I can do it. I pulled myself up by the bootstraps. I'm the lone hero who saves the day. We have our Superman, we have our Iron Man, we have our Wonder Woman. And so we make the heroic stories about the one. We put
Right,
Steve Jobs on a pedestal, even though there's a whole company that was making it, right? And so we've learned, we celebrate independence, we blame people for being weak if they ask for help. We say,
absolutely.
no, you need to learn how to do it. And so what happens is we're reinforced and we feel very uncomfortable asking for help. And it is absolutely, I would say, let's go there, against our human evolution because we all need to be connected, right? And in the West, we're all sick and lonely and tired and burnt out because we've lost this connection and this dependence on each other.
Yeah, and here is a little bit, tension and struggle, if you will. Okay, and that's you rightly said there are two basic human needs. It's to be authentic, to be yourself. Mother Nature wants us to, or our genes and our talents to be expressed freely. To show, hey, this is who we are. But on the other hand, we are so much ahead of the other species because we cooperate, we communicate and cooperate. This is it. So this is it. So that's on one side, it is very much true that we have a tendency to, cooperate. Okay. On the other hand, and that's evolution, human beings in the past always wanted to be on the highest level of the hierarchy, because in the past it was about resources like food, shelter, power, whatever. Today it's like, food in the majority of the countries, it's no more an issue. So it's rather about, money, your salary, number of the followers on social networks and stuff like that. And now, that's my assumption, but I think there are some data behind it. If you are a leader, okay, and you are like on the top of the organization, in your brain, you think, once I will show vulnerability, I will show I don't know, I will ask for the help, I will drop down in the hierarchy. And that's absolutely bullshit. And to be honest, to be very honest, and to be like, from the pedagogical, standpoint of view, I was also micromanager, and I was also thinking I will do it on my. I'm the best guy to do it, basically, right? And if you decide to be leader and you go really like general management means that from each and every box, some basic stuff, but you can manage and lead those people who are in charge of those boxes. Okay, it doesn't mean that if you are really the best guy in each and every box, you have a wrong leaders in your organization. Right? And you are in the wrong organization. If you are the smartest person all the time, that's wrong, and you are not developing the organization. So I think this is it. But once you are really able to show, hey, and ask for the help and tell, your people, this is what, we can do together, it's much better. Now, if you are doing like everything important on your own, long run, you will probably kill yourself. That's your decision, but you are killing organization. That's worse, because you are not developing your people. That's worse. In my view, that's worse. So that's kind of the two, needs we have against this hierarchy. It's always in our brains. Okay. Now, there is another point I wanted to make relative to the, like, dependence, independence, and interdependence, right?
Yes.
In the Stephen Covey book, 7 Habits of the Most Effective People, he talks about the fact that once we are born, we are dependent on our, parents, on teacher, whatever, right? Then once there is a puberty, we want to be independent. We are like on our own, whatever. But then the best, relationships and best teams are working really interdependent, right? The way I always try to explain best teams, best leaders are able to basically develop in each and every, individual, take, the most important talents and strengths, put those people together so there's a synergy and inspire them. People are in the best organizations or the best football teams or best ice hockey team, doesn't matter. They are interdependent, because if you think about it, team flow, it's about interdependence. It's about I like what I do. That's why I'm in my individual flow, right? I'm on my best. But then if I'm on my best and I work with the others, so Lisa, talents are covering my weaknesses and the other way around, we are interdependent, then that means, that we are a good team and we can be like long run, successful, right? So that's I think it is a real huge issue that when we are kids, it's easy for us to ask for the help because we are non-judgmental. Once we start to be judgmental against others, against ourselves, comparing, if I will show vulnerability, if I will show I don't know this, right? I can tell you, I give you one example. I did like sales, marketing, all disciplines, but consulting. I was never like technical consultant in my career, right? And I was obviously responsible also for the huge group of consultants. And when I took them for the dinner or the lunch, I said, guys, you are like techies. I can help you how to think in terms of the leadership and so on, but you need to teach me. You need to, educate me in terms of the technology, what we can do, and you know what I mean, right? And they were very nice, and they were like, "Hey, Jan, you are great. You are like open with us." I said, "I need to be open because your specialty, I really never did, right? It is hard to do all things and then become, like the CEO of the region or whatever,
Yeah.
So that's only on kind of the intro, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so important that we always, you guys, for those of you who are regulars with us, Jan and I always go back to what's the neuroscience, what's actually happening in the body and in the mind. It's easy for us to be, motivational speakers and just say, look, you should work together and go team. But the reality is we want you to understand what's happening in the mind, why we need it, why we might resist it.
Right.
And one of the easiest ways that I can describe it, we've talked a lot about the amygdala, right? That's your fear center, your lizard brain, your monkey brain, as Jan likes to call it. It's that, ancient thing that tries to keep you alive. And you have to remember this. It is safety first and foremost. It is looking for threats. Right. And that is a very I focused. So when Jan said, hey, dependence, when you're born, of course, you need someone to take care of you. Nobody's, comes out of their mother and says, okay, let me go to work. Let me get my apartment. Let me cook dinner, right? You have a lot of years where you need some. And then we get to independence. I want to find my way. I want to develop my skills. And where people get stuck is in that independence phase. And why they get stuck in independence is because they get stuck in this fear part of their brain. I can't reach out. I can't show vulnerability. I can't show weakness. It's not a positive trait, although we put positive words to it. Look how strong I am.
Right, yeah.
What it really is I'm afraid to be weak, to be taken over. If I'm not the alpha, someone else will come and be the alpha. It's very much fear-based when it's I-based.
Absolutely.
And for those of you who've been doing, we talk about the meaning of life. We talk about having a greater purpose, how to make life meaningful for you. All of those shifts are shifts that come out of the I, out of the fear part of the brain, and come into the smartest part of your brain, that prefrontal cortex, because this is the part where you connect dots. You connect to something bigger.
Right.
You connect to people, you connect to nature, you connect to, whatever, the systems of the world, you connect to physics, you connect to God, you connect to something beyond the self. And that is then that interdependence. And why interdependence is so important is because the I brain is always protective and self-focused in nature. And the we is what makes you happy, what makes you fulfill your potential, get to the smartest part of your brain. And as Jan said, as we build societies, we build communities, the only reason we can do that, and why apes who are very close to us genetically, why can't they? Because they can hold these complex ideas in their minds and they can work together. Apes don't understand money. Money is a made-up concept. We made that up.
Doesn't exist. Yeah.
It doesn't exist, but we made it up and we agreed we're all going to cooperate and we're going to agree to share this reality of money. It doesn't exist for real.
Absolutely. Money is the agreement. Money is societal contract. Absolutely.
And when we say, here's a societal contract, we can build on each other. One person does research. I can take that research. I can build on it. That's why everything, when we make progress, when we work together, when we create stuff, it has to be from an interdependence because you're building on what's come from the past and people will build from you on what comes in the future. So what you're actually doing, why it's so difficult to break out of independence is because we're saying, stop being afraid, stop thinking about protecting yourself, and really be connected with others. And this is a scary, hard thing for the body to do because it's a risk, quote unquote, for the body. And when you don't do it, you live in a constant state of fear, cortisol, stress hormones. You never have what's totally meaningful and important in your life. You never have those connections. So it's worth overcoming the fear.
Yeah. And, there is obviously science behind it because the first priority for the brain is survival. That's why amygdala is 10 times faster than your neocortex. So in your brain, unless it's trained, your I is 10 times faster than we. Okay, right? That's for sure, right? On the other hand, you're right, and if it's survival, nothing else is a priority for me. If, right, I need to ask for the help, and amygdala is afraid, oh, it's risky, because if I will show that I don't know, maybe I'll not be, promoted if I'm asking my boss or what, you know what I mean, right?
Exactly.
And amygdala is also good to put together like negative stories, like, well, if I don't know and I ask, maybe I'm not, promoted, or maybe I'm even fired, right? And stuff like that. That's why very often we are not, asking for the help, and then it's sometimes, disaster. What it needs to be said, that it is clear that if human beings are lonely for a long time, it's not, mentally healthy, right? It can lead to the depression, but it's also not physically healthy, because you rightly said it's about cortisol. One reason I think there were more, elderly people who die because of the cortisol as opposed to the COVID, during the COVID, because they were not able to, maybe they were able to talk on WhatsApp, whatever, to the family, but they are not like visiting each other, and we don't know hormones like oxytocin, which you need to have, like with your, kids, even if you are like, retiree, whatever, right? We don't know whether it works through the screen. That's what we don't know. And so that's one thing. Regarding to loneliness, I think people should think twice. Do I really want to be leader? Because to be leader, it's a lonely job. Other people will, help you, will give you some advice, whatever. But at the end of the day, you would need to do a lot of decisions, and our brain is not set up to make decisions unless it's trained. All decisions for the brain are potential danger, right? All decisions, because our brain is predicting based on what we went through already, our experience, skills, right? And stuff like that, okay? Which means that our brains likes what we know already, right? Whatever is new. That's why, by the way, brain is consuming the most energy when we are moving, when we are learning, because that's out of the comfort zone, and when we are for a long time, like it's uncertainty around us, right? Yeah. That's what the brain is doing. And it is a lonely job, and I always think, like, when I was traveling quite often, with some of my colleagues, whatever. But when I was like alone, and you are like somewhere, I don't know, in Russia, Sweden, whatever, and there's a snow everywhere, like in the hotel after long day, and you think like, well, it is, so I was like swimming, whatever, doing something, but it is tough. It is tough, and it's not easy. So you need to think twice, because even if they would offer me now some top executive job, I would not do it. I mean, I did it like for 22 years in the really top, it's like Premier League or NHL, if you will, to use that example. But enough, it's enough. Now I'm like, I travel a little bit, but not as much anymore. So that's kind of the question. Do I really want to do it? Right? And then and then if you decide, fine. But then you need to be able, because you know what, there is another thing. If you are asking for the help, or if you are able to delegate, you need to give like safety net for your people, because it's clear. I mean, the things you are doing like that means that you are in your comfort zone if you do it, right? And if you as a leader are moving out of the comfort zone, chances are you will also make some mistakes, okay? So you need to have, broad safety net for your people. If they are learning something new, not everything will be immediately like 100% all results, right? And I think this is very much important, to like support your people, and in front of like your boss to say, hey, we are a team, we made it, we made some mistakes, but I was aware of that, whatever. And you move on and you learn like that, right? But the problem is that we today, it's called stress comparison. Basically, stress from comparing with the others, organization wide, right, with the other people and so on. So as a kids, we are not stressful because we are not comparing. We are like comparing us to our progress. Yesterday, I did like one step. Today, second step. You know what I mean, right? And that's how dopamine works. But we go and we start to demonize mistakes. And everybody talks about learning organization, but you will not build learning organization unless you will say, okay, this is what we've done well. And those are the mistakes. Let's learn also from the mistakes. And it's like showing, why I'm saying that, it's connecting with showing vulnerability. Because people think that if you as a leader will show, I don't know, or you will ask for the help, oh, I'm weak, I'm wimpy guy, whatever, right? That's the reason why I started to talk, openly and publicly about my depression. And it gave me a lot of courage and a lot of energy. And I've got fantastic feedback from the people because they said, on your level, people don't talk about it. And I think this is a problem, right? Because depression, you can be depressed even if you are a top guy, right? So
what you described is so perfect, because I want to make this distinction. There's physically lonely, which is I'm traveling all the time. I'm in a hotel room by myself. I don't get the chance to be around people. During COVID, we couldn't go out with friends. And actually, there's a lot of people who are very physically lonely at this moment because we physically touch each other less. So for example, in the workplace, sexual harassment, you maybe don't hug your colleagues anymore the way you would have, or don't put an arm on their shoulder the way you would have. Teachers aren't allowed to touch students the way they used to be. We are physically very lonely, and humans are made for that touch because we co-regulate emotions there.
Absolutely.
So there's that physical loneliness. And then there's also this emotional loneliness. And this is really where we see the biggest challenges, and sort of what Jan is saying. He suffered from this depression. He had to go through like a burnout, and nobody talks about it. So what happens emotionally in our minds is, this is hard, this is overwhelming, this is too much, but there's something wrong with me. We start to make it about ourselves. I'm the only one who can't handle it. I look around and everyone's Instagram stories look amazing. Everyone on LinkedIn is having all these great promotions. That's where the comparison
on social networks and everywhere, like we are growing, economies are growing on social networks, everybody's happy. And we are the most depressed generation in human history, right? So there is something wrong. There's something wrong, we are maybe not serious on the social networks, because I think social networks are not showing reality.
No.
If some 15 years old kids are getting some nice handbags, they are influencers, right? All kids around them think, oh, I need to have this Louis Vuitton, handbag. Otherwise, I'm not that valuable person, right? It's a bullshit, absolutely bullshit.
And this is where we're now getting into loneliness, because we think everyone else is handling it fine and great and better. It must be me. This is where imposter syndrome starts coming in. They're going to find out I'm not as good as they are. They're going to find out I wasn't as smart as they thought I was. They're going to find out I'm going to mess this up. I only got here by luck, and it's only a matter of time before they find out. And this imposter syndrome, this feeling like it's me, is a form of loneliness that I can tell you almost 100% of the time that I do a group training or a group coaching, this is one of the aha moments that comes out at the end, where they say, I thought it was just me. I'm not alone in this. And so I think it's really important for us, Jan, to say to everybody here, whatever you're struggling with, be it a new baby or an imposter syndrome feeling at work.
I mean, our daughter, she was, fine. She was like sleeping majority of the nights. But when she was sick,
get off the camera. We don't need anyone like you.
I was not, like for 3-4 days, I was not, sleeping. And then you were like 10, 15 hours in work, in your job. That was, tough, right? So now there is another thought I have, right? Because today, a lot of people, I'm like invited to speak about. Tomorrow, I speak in front of the huge, pharma company, like, European leadership team, whatever, right? And the thing is time pressure, stress, how to handle stress and stuff like that. And obviously, the question is, Lisa, how much is it because of the workload? And I think that there's a lot of workload.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I think we are not spending enough time, that we are not connected enough to the other people, like asking for the help, working more in the teams. You know what I mean, right? Because
Yes.
so I think that's a huge issue, and you are spot on. I mean, I like working from home, whatever, but I to be honest, I think that if you will work all the time from home, you will not know who are your colleagues, whoever. Look what I did when we moved to Munich 25 years ago. Every year we organize family Olympic games, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when they were like all employees with their families and the kids, and we were like competing in a funny way, and you learn about family, you know what, and it
Yes.
creates absolutely different environment. That was number one. Number two, at one point I have in headquarters 42 different nationalities. Like every Friday we used to have, every second Friday, not every Friday, but I would say 2 or 3 Fridays a month, somebody would say, or some group, like there were like 3 Americans, so we will have a presentation about United States, and it will be like pizza served for 1 hour, kind of the discussion, and people know each other. You know what I mean, right?
Yes. Yes. I think this is really important, is to find ways to create community and find small interactions of where you can get that connectedness. So for example, the next time you're going to go to on a call, you're in a meeting, right? You have those 2 minutes where it's kind of like everybody's still waiting for someone else. Well, how do you do it? Hey, you crack some jokes or you say, how are you? Instead, go ahead and tell a story that's a little bit more personal about you. When someone says, hey, how was your weekend? You don't have to just say, oh, it was good. How was yours? You can say, hey, it was so nice. The sun was shining. The kids were out. We were enjoying that last day before the snow hits this week. Just, it doesn't have to be lots of interactions, but I want you to start getting into the micro habit of how to connect, how to get to the personal level. And I know some people are very worried about, like, that's too personal. I don't want to share anything very personal about myself. That's okay. Find your boundary.
Yeah. The right level, the right balance. Yeah.
Exactly. But even if it's just like, and I often will coach people on how to have good icebreakers or how to have good, like, quick questions to ask. And I say, if you're at a networking event or you have 2 minutes at the beginning of a meeting, go ask people and say, hey, I'm looking for a new Netflix series to watch. What have you been watching lately? Right? People, a Netflix series is not so personal, but it already gets someone excited talking about something that they care about. Maybe you're like, oh, you like Breaking Bad? I loved Breaking Bad, right? And now you have something in common and you're finding your connections. So I would say start to have micro moments of connection. Even if you can't have big connection, don't make it feel hard. Don't make yourself feel more isolated. Find those small moments where you can connect back in and find ways to relate to people and bring the human side. Because you're right, Jan, we're so overwhelmed with emails and project management. We get so narrowly focused into execution. I just need the answer to this question. I just need to get it done. I just need to get this off my plate. And we literally, physiologically, the stress narrows our focus. We forget the people because we're zoomed into the task. And we need to look up and look around and remember to bring the people on the way with us.
Yeah, that is an interesting question from Lucas. Maybe your English is better, so if you read it.
Okay, I go for it. Hi, Jan and Lisa. Greetings to all the outstanding coaches. How can one become an excellent values-based coach within the security forces, where the environment is rigid, the leadership is authoritarian, and it is difficult to enter as an external professional? Ooh, good questions.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say,
I start. So, Lucas, I will now give you a little bit like spiel 2 minutes on, neuroscience, how the skills are created. And it doesn't matter whether it's, soldiers. In the past, I was working with some soldiers, and some leaders from the army. And with police, I work, even with the really some tough units. Okay. So anyway, here is how the skill is created, right? And the drill is playing very important role in all skills. Skill equals, your talents. Those are the genes, and you have, for example, for shooting, right? If we talk about shooting, somebody got, more talent, somebody less, but, skill equals talent multiplied by effort. Effort is the drill, right? Give you some examples, right? Michael Jordan was throwing, the ball 90 minutes every day more than the other players. This is what makes through the, drill a real champion, right? So this is the skill. But those guys like, soldiers, policemen, they need to perform consistently very well under huge pressure. Okay. Now let's move from the skill to the performance. Okay. Performance, in my view, equals skill. That's what you learn through the drill, right? Multiply by your mental toughness. Mental toughness can be less than 1, and I think then you should really consider whether you should be with police or army, because that means we call those people in sport training types. During the training, during the drill, you are great, but under the pressure, you are not able to perform. Okay. M can be equal 1, which means that's okay, or M can be bigger than 1, and that's exactly where I think the coaches, like we were talking about coaching the teams. For me, it doesn't matter whether the team is like special force, unit. Like I was trained by Mark Devine. Michael Gervais. I was also trained by him, but as the guy who was mental coach for the Seahawks. Mark Devine is the guy who's doing the trainings, like mental trainings and physical trainings. He spent 20 years with SEAL operation. SEAL is the toughest unit in the US Navy. Okay. And basically, those guys, they need to perform all exercises they do. They are interdependent. For example, they carry some huge piece of the wood, and if one guy, like out of the 10 or 12 guys, would like give up or whatever, then the whole thing is gone, basically, right? So it's a huge interdependence, and they need to be in the team flow, whatever they do all the time. Okay, then in that case, M is more than 1, and I think that's what a coach for such organization should do. Coach, them, so they will be in the personal flow, understand who they are really, and they can use the talents and drill, and then coach those leaders how to put together those, soldiers. And if I can recommend that, there are I paid for it, but you don't need to pay for it, because there's stuff on YouTube with Mark Devine, so you will figure out what it takes. And those are like, when I was learning about mental toughness, I thought I need to talk some psychologists. Psychologists are good, but those guys, they life, whenever they go to the action, their life is like in the game, right? And their skin is in the game. It's a very different, kind of the coaching and so on. So that's why. And I know it's a rigid, and sometimes it is authoritarian, absolutely. On the other hand, it's rigid for the good purpose, because there is always life in the game, majority of the time, really, right? Saying that, there was, I think, the best leaders in the army or in the police. That's kind of my observation. Are the leaders who will like decide before that they are like empathical. General Powell, Colin Powell, you remember him, right? Yes. We used to invite him for the Microsoft speeches, right? And he was the guy, they absolutely love him, the soldiers, because he listened, but then he decided, this is the command and let's do it, right? But first he listened to the soldiers, what they were, saying. He talks to the people in the field and so on. Look, I'm not professional. I was, soldier like for 1 year in the, like, for during the military duty. But those are a couple of things, what I did. I do, less, but I did a couple of trainings, with them. And it is interesting because they want, for example, one of the really top leaders in, very tough organization. He got a lot of inspiration from my book, The Positive Leader. And that's how I started to train them, basically, right? Because he said, there is a lot of stuff you can even use, like from the positive psychology in, military organized organizations, more or less, right?
Yeah. And maybe I'll try to add different points to what Jan's already said. And fun fact that many of you probably don't know about me. When I started my career, actually my undergraduate degree, I studied political science, and my first job out of university was for the Department of Defense, for the US Department of Defense.
I know, absolutely. Yeah.
So Yeah, knows all about me, all my deep dark secrets.
No, you told me.
No, I'm just kidding. And for that job, I would travel to, 2 weeks out of every month. I was living on a different military base somewhere in the US, figuring that stuff out. And at the time, and a little bit after, I was dating a US Marine for several years. So I was also sort of embedded in the life. We were dating while he was deployed. So I was really well integrated into the life. And I think it's important when I hear, let's do values-based, I go, okay, is this going to be too theoretical? Because we got to speak the language of the audience of what they're talking about. If they're people who like to have, authority, then let's talk with the language that makes sense for them. They joined the military for a reason. Most of the time they're like, I want to fight for freedom. I believe in, our rights for others. So they have values-based systems, but they maybe don't call it values. So I wouldn't go in and try to pitch to somebody, let me sell you values-based coaching, because they're like, I don't need that, right? But what we can say is, let's talk about how to keep your troops motivated.
Absolutely.
Hey, what motivates you? Why did you join the military? I joined for fighting for freedom. Great, let's talk about that. And we speak in their language. And I think it's really important when you have something of value for the military, they're willing to bring external people in, or, police officers and stuff. They're used to having trainers from the outside. So it's not to say, oh, I'm external, I'm never going to get there. The question I would ask is, A, who do I need to start networking with to get in? And B, is the information I have relevant to what they're seeking? Right? Okay. So this is product market fit, business 101. I know what I want to push. Is that what they want to buy? Right? And it might be that you change the wording. I do a lot of like emotional intelligence coaching. I don't call it emotional intelligence coaching because most people aren't looking for emotional intelligence coaching anymore. And so I call it peak performance. And guess what you need to be able to do peak performance? Regulate your emotions. Well, guess what? It's the same skills as emotional intelligence.
It is.
Yeah, but
if you are really interested in mental toughness coaching and so on, you should definitely, he wrote a couple of books already. Mark Divine is the guy who was responsible for education, drilling, and training for the boot camp. The boot camp is survived by like 10% of the people in SEAL camp, in the SEAL operation, right? It's really tough, really. They are like in 6 days, they sleep like 5 hours and stuff. Really, it's really bad, right? And so, and he's the guy, he created some training, and you will realize, wow, that's really, because you know what? I have today I had a, nice discussion with Lucas Rohan, who was, who won a silver medal at the Tokyo Olympic Games. On the last Olympic Games, he was fourth and 6th. And he was like thinking maybe I should already retire, but he's, back and he will, fight again, right? So we had a nice discussion about that. And you know what? Like in sport, if you are really top athlete, the drill is the same like in army or in police, even worse, it's really hard. If you want to be champ, if you want to be one of the best, then obviously you have like recovery, whatever. Yeah, right. That's for sure. Right. I'm comparable, but that kind of the drill and the best coaches, they are not nice to the, athletes. They are like listening, but other than that, they are tough, because there is this saying, if you are tough during the training, there's a saying in my language, in Czech, if you are very tough with yourself during the training, during the drill, it's easier on the battlefield, basically. And it's true, because it is all, I tell you what, whether you are soldier, policeman, or the top athlete, it's all about myelins if you are really mentally tough, right? Because myelins, imagine, right? If you do some activity, like drilling a lot of time, your synapses, they have a tendency, those are like connections among your, neurons, having tendency to be like pushed together and to be taped. And that tape is called myelin. And more myelins you have in your brain for special activities, then you can do that activity fast. You can do it precisely, and you can do it under the huge, mental pressure. I was once, training a couple of snipers, right? shooters, right? And I was like, what, Jan, can teach you about sniping, or even like the sport shooters, right? They are shooting on the Olympic Games. That's the same. And you know what they said? They said, well, you know what? It is about really like 1 or 2 seconds when you need to be absolutely concentrated, pay attention, right? And be in the top flow, in the top zone, and this is it.
Yes.
Right? This is it. Or if you are like, if you are somewhere and you are like guarding that place for 3 hours, right? And your brain is like foggy, getting tired. There can be some child, and you see some soldier instead of the child. You know what I mean, right? So you need to be really concentrated. That can happen easily, right? That's why you need to. That's why the concentration, to me, concentration in all areas, it's a new currency. Because we are so much deconcentrated.
Oh, I agree. And we've got another question from Lucas here, which is not related, but I think it would be like helpful and relevant to bring it up.
Okay, I will. Give me a sec.
Okay, and I'll already start. How can one rediscover lost self-confidence when the work environment and colleagues have long diminished you because they lack values? Should I start? Should you start? Where do you want to go?
Sure, start, yeah.
Okay, I go. So I think it's really important to just notice the way the language is that Lucas is using. So he's saying, my colleagues are, diminishing me. Maybe they're making me smaller. They're making comments. They're making fun of me, whatever it is that's happening. But I want to make sure that we're really clear. Their behavior doesn't have to affect you. So I want to build a little bit of mental toughness in saying, how are you choosing to respond? How are you choosing to take on what their words are? Now, sometimes people will give us feedback and we go, oh, that's very helpful. Actually, it was a blind spot, or, oh, you're right, I should be doing it a little differently. Thank you for the feedback. Sometimes people give us feedback and it's like, that's not anything I care about. It sounds like, Lucas, I'm really connected to my values. This is how I want to and choose to show up.
Absolutely.
And that, I would say, thanks for the feedback. No thanks for the feedback. And I'd throw it in the garbage. And so I want you to start realizing your self-confidence when you're in the dependence phase means I depend on others. I care about other people's opinions. I'm stuck on how they perceive me. That's a very powerless mindset, a very powerless experience. And by the way, Lucas, because we talked about this earlier, you're not alone. I would say 95% of people are there in that place where they take it as though it's true, or they take it as though it's personal to them. And the training that you can then do is to learn how to say, hold on, pause. You don't write the story of my life. I write the story of my life. You don't like the values I have? Then we have differences, because I'm going to keep showing up aligned with the values that I think are right. And I want you to start rewriting that story from a place of power, not from a place of they have power over me. And I'll end there. But if you have more questions, let me know.
Yeah. And yesterday I was at this, Elisa is also part of that. I'm like the professional fellow at the coaching institute at Harvard, and we had every Monday we had like at 6 o'clock some session, and somebody said, regarding the values, he said, the values are basically our idealized thoughts, because our values are created. It has to do with what Lisa said about other human beings, about interdependency. We have so-called mirror neurons through which we more or less learn when we are babies, because we don't have a language as a tool, right? So we are like, copying what the other people are doing, more or less. But also mirror neurons are used when we create our values, because if we have, some people like our, model roles, our idols, right? And we can say, I like because he's like fair, this guy, I like him because he's tough with himself, right? He's always open. And if you take like 5 people you really admire for some long time, and one, thing per each person, those are your personal values. Okay. And now, I tell you my case with Microsoft. I think we overlapped. When I was in Microsoft, there were some 6 Microsoft values like loyalty, customer focus, whatever, right? And I think we overlap with my personal values like 80%, but not 100%. Because, for example, my value is a family, not only like my family, but I don't like conflict. I like people to work together. That's why I would never put there some post and say, hey, what do you think about this behavior? You are for or against? That's not me. I would get probably 3 times more followers, because if people are fighting, algorithms enjoy it, right? So that's not this is not me, right? And I can tell you, I think if it overlaps at least say 60-70%, then it's doable. If it overlaps only half, I think the question is, am I in right company or in right environment? If it's because you probably will not change, how this organization, unless you are really on the top, how they will, behave, right? And sometimes, as much as organization or the boss can fire you, you can fire organization or your boss. You know what I mean? You just leave,
Yes.
right? There are studies and it's almost like every year it's getting worse. Studies from Gallup show that between 60 to 70% people leaving, organizations, the main reason are managers. They don't like their managers and leaders, basically. So the leaders are very important in all organizations.
I completely agree. And I want to make sure, and maybe we'll just add this last piece to wrap up about this self-confidence and this values. Whenever I walk into a place, so I'm walking into a room, I'm going to give a speech, I'm going to coach, whatever it is, I tell myself in my mind, I bring the weather. So if I want the mood to be, if I want the mood to be cheerful, then I'm going to bring it and I'm going to work my way through the crowd to see how I can bring it for them. So I like to always put myself in a powerful position. I don't force it. I don't go in and say, Jan, you better be cheery or else. Right?
No, yeah.
Because that also doesn't bring cheer. But I bring the weather. And so I always walk into situations going, how can I have an impact, or how can I shift the mood, or how can I change things in a positive way? And if talking about values, we don't share values, it's not the same language, then I try to find a different way to speak the language. I try to find something that we have in common at least. And then I also would say it's really important. This is for everybody. We talked about how to ask for help. I want to slightly even rephrase that. Why do we even call it help? When you say help, what you do from a power perspective is you say they're higher than I am, and I'm the poor little me who needs help. And that is why, from a power perspective, we feel, oh, it's really hard to ask for help. And I often say, why don't you make a request for how you can be equals and create something together?
Right.
And so if you don't like the environment, don't say, oh, poor me, or, oh, why are they doing this to me? Or could you help me out by changing things? Or let me tell the boss. What you should say is, I'm very powerful here. I bring the weather with me. And now I'm going to start making requests. Hey, guys, this environment isn't working to get the best out of us. How do we create an environment that would work best for us? How do we create so that and you power them forward?
No, by weather, it's, emotions are contagious. So you are bringing the energy, and it's a positive energy or it's negative energy, or that sometimes there is no energy. Right? And it's the same with the leaders. Whether you are a coach or leader, I think this is the same, right? And I think the issue, when I was thinking about why we are really not delegating or asking for the help, I think very often we think like we are the most competitive, we are most reliable. It has to do with amygdala, absolutely, all of that. Okay. Then the questions like, if I will do it, will I look really like weak, or maybe it will slow things down because they will need to explain me what what you know, I need to do and stuff like that. But it is always try, whenever you have those kind of the, you know, questions, or those kind of the, you know, it's called ends, automatic negative thoughts, try to give chance to your logical part of the brain and ask, you know, logically, if I am not like, would I, if, you know, if, for example, I have a tooth pain, okay, will I do it on my own at home with some, you know, drill? Or come on, you know, right? No, logically it's clear, but human beings are, you know, emotional beings mainly, right? And if you realize and give the chance, the logical part of the brain, then you will stop to believe all your thoughts. Some thoughts are facts, and some thoughts are just the thoughts. This is it, you know, right?
Yes.
And the brain, you should understand, because brain is about survival. Brain is designed in the way that you should make all decisions, you should, you know, solve all issues, you know, right? You should, you know, take a risk, you know, on you, like, and not necessarily on you know, the other people. And if you go like that, as we said, you are not you are killing yourself, because you don't have enough time to like recover, renew energy, and you are killing the organization because you are not developing your people, because the organizations are not developed in the comfort zone, they are developed out of the comfort zone. That's as a human beings, that's the same thing. That's why the best organizations, they learn as much as from the success, as much as from they learn also from the failures. But we don't, in organizations, we don't like to talk about failures, because again, we can drop in the hierarchy, right? Because if I'm like, you know, right, but it needs to me, it needs the discussion about failures, mistakes, and how we learn from that needs to be started by the leader, basically. Because if you will open, other people will feel safe. Hey, it's fine, we are talking about good, because there is a saying, success leaves the clues, but failure leaves as many as clues as success. You know what I mean, right? Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. And we learn, human brain learns mostly by trials and errors. This is it. That's how kids are learning, you know, to walk, to talk, and so on. Artificial intelligence is learning by trials and errors, you know, right?
Yes, exactly. And I know we're almost at time, so I guess I just want to add one thing, which is I obviously do executive coaching. I'm in these one-to-one sessions. People tell me they're real truths. It's not the Facebook version. It's not the Instagram version. Right. It's the real. And I can assure you, everybody feels incompetent at times. Everybody feels stupid at times. Everybody fears making mistakes at times. And everybody is weird. This is something that you think, oh, but this is so weird about me. And that, yes, okay, that might be your brand of weird, but everyone has a weird thing. So don't be afraid to be a little bit weird. I will share publicly I have a weird request of my husband. Sometimes when my nervous system is overwhelmed, I do a little bit of shaking to get it out. And sometimes for me to feel safe, I have him hug me. And so I don't actually need him to do anything. I sort of need him physically. So I'll say, hey, could we lay on the couch and you hold me? You can watch TV. I don't need you, but I'm going to be like shaking and crying in the corner here, holding on to you. And that's a very weird request for a wife to make. Yes.
It is. But I can understand, you know, that I'm getting different requests, like, you know, you should fix that, you should do that, you know, not necessarily the hugging also, but, you know, no, but I mean, look, I can understand, because what you describe, it's basically setting up your parasympathetic, you know, nervous system, right? Like you are cooling down. Yeah, absolutely, because you feel good with somebody you trust and you love, you know, this is it.
That's it. And he's happy to do it. He's like, this is so weird. But he is like, well, great. You feel better at the end.
He is a Swiss, right? So
hey, he knew what he was marrying when he got in. No,
yeah, absolutely.
The point is, it's very weird. The first time he was like, okay, what is this? What's happening? Should I be helping? Right? Because I'm crying. He's like, what?
Right.
And I said, I don't need anything. And now he's like, wow, what a great way for me to help you. And I don't have to like find the right words and be encouraging. Sure, yeah. And, you know, it's very easy for him. We're both quite happy. But be confident enough to make those requests. Put that weirdness out there, because yes, people might think, oh, it's weird. And then they get over it. And now, obviously I don't do it every day, but you know, I don't know, once a year or something. And I really need it. And I know, and I say, okay, take your position, let's go, right? And it totally works. That weirdness goes away. But the requests that I had, I stood up for myself. I'm not alone in this. I could feel safe enough to request. It wasn't really about help, but it was about being together in that moment. And then it's all perfect. So don't be afraid to go and make those requests. You will be very surprised how much people are very happy. They are not as judgmental as you think they will be.
What? I tell you what, right? If you ask people to help you, people who are helping you, they feel good simply because that's how our brain is set up. Our brain is really set up to help other people because our brain is set up to work with the other people. I feel like, I feel really good whenever every day I'm like, okay, did I really help at least 2-3 people? Sometimes I got on those, you know, lives, 250 people. I said, oh, even if 10% would do something, it's still like 25 people. It's pretty good. So it is, you feel really good when you help other people because, you know, the happiest people are those who can make happy other people through activity they love, you know, right?
Yes.
So it's easy as it is.
Yes.
Perfect.
So don't deny people the joy of being there to support and connect with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, guys.
Thanks
you.
everyone for joining.
See you soon. Bye.
Take care.
Yeah.